Hey, welcome to another Tactical Tuesday. Here this week, we are going to go over nationality distinctions. What does that mean? That means how you should treat your infantry between scenarios, between games, during the game, etc., etc. The Russians do not behave and do not have the same characteristics as many of the other nationalities, etc., etc. So, not only do you have to simply play the game, but you have to play the game according to how your nationality functions the best. Sometimes that means it's a lack of leaders, and you have to be very, selective on where your leaders are going to be going, whether who they're going to direct fire attacks from, and all these other decisions. And morale factor as well is a big part of it. Your broken morale factor is a big part of it. We go through most of the nationalities that are going to be in starter kit, and so stick around, hit double speed, and learn a couple little things. We had a couple little thoughts about how you should maybe practice using these particular nationalities. All right. Thanks a lot. Enjoy, and we'll see you later. But I just want to go over something simple but very important in the larger scheme of things. So, and only because I'm running into it myself. You kind of know what it is, but I just don't want people to just be complacent on what things have to offer, especially since there's so many more action packs coming out. I mean, we got expansion pack 1, expansion pack 2, and there's like the expansion packs are out, and then there's the other action packs, right? Am I wrong in that?
Well, actually, called bonus packs and starter kit. Got
Yeah.
two bonus packs and two expansion packs.
Right, the bonus packs. And so with those the bonus packs are not self-contained. The expansion packs are, which seems kind of odd because you think an expansion isn't contained, or maybe vice versa. Anyway, case in point, those expansion packs include other nationalities as instead of just your Germans and your Americans and your Russians. You know, they have other nationalities. They've got, well, first of all, Circuit 4's got Japanese. Some of the expansion packs / bonus packs have Chinese, minor allies, allied minor allies, and Axis minor allies, as well as British thrown in there, British and Commonwealth, along with that. So, I just have this map set up right here. I can just delete all this crap. I can't delete the concealments because, yeah. So, what I want to do is go over, like I say, something very simple, but something very important. And this applies to some of these things will apply to ASL as well, but they're both pretty much the same because it's the concept is the same. Got that. We've got this, and then we've got back to the Allied British. I don't think we have any French, do we? So. Okay, and then we'll go to, won't bother with that crap. The Germans, and the Germans are pretty forward. They have a large array of units. Japanese. Italians. Absolutely. Forgot the Italians. Sorry about that, Italians. Oh my god. Can't forget the Italians. Or maybe we should. Oh.
There's some French on here too.
There is?
Yeah,
Wow.
them on there.
Where were they in the Star Kiss?
Oh, you're talking starter kits.
Yeah, starter
That's the
kits.
thing and coming on in
expansion
Vassal.
expansion pack 1. What was it? The N50 or something like that. Had a couple of Yag Panthers going up against a French armored unit.
Oh, were they free French?
Yes.
Okay, so the Commonwealth at that point.
Basically, yes.
Yeah. Okay, so
I
I'll go.
thought you were talking about within Vassals, but yeah.
No. I'm just pulling these out for starter kit purposes.
Okay.
Again, the same things will apply between, whether it's Vassal or ASL, but I just want to focus on what we have available in starter kit. Pretty much it's everything, for the most part. But we're going to go through a little synopsis here. Small crowd, so we can cover lots of territory. So let's go to let me go to my main map. There we go. Close this down, zoom in a bit. So here are the basic nationalities that we have on our wonderful map. Let me lock this up here real quick. There we go. And so, zoom. I think I zoomed the whole way in on this one here. All right. So we have the allies on the left-hand side. If you got, everyone's in the room, yeah, excellent. Allies on the left-hand side, Axis on the right-hand side. So let's go in. We're going to go through these one by one, and I want you to guys. What we're going to do is we're going to go over, essentially, for all intents and purposes, this is equivalent to chapter A25, section A25 in the main rulebook. Essentially, nationality distinctions, because as you know, this is what we're going to go over. As you should know, the Russian 447, the Commonwealth or British 447, and I'm just using 447 as an example, and the Japanese 447s, they are all exactly the same firepower, range, and morale. 447s, right? But each of these units is vastly different than the next one. And that's what we need to focus on when we're entering a scenario which contains different units. Like you say, I like playing 447s because I like the range and this, that, and the other. But the 447s in each of these categories differ wildly amongst each other. It's like I say, especially in ASL, I'm gonna try and not include any ASL special characteristics, but the general gist is going to be there. So so right there, just for an example, what are the differences between these particular units? I mean, there's not much in starter kit per se, but you could talk to me about their nationality and nationality characteristics. So, a Russian 447. When you have Russians in your OB, what else? First of all, it fires the same. It doesn't have smoke. The only one that does have smoke is the Japanese unit. So when let's just go in breaking. So if they all break, what happens? Do they all break equally?
No, the Japanese unit does a step reduction opposed to breaking.
Right. So the Japanese will step reduce, he'll stripe, and these units will simply break. And they both have 7 morale on their backside. So they're equivalent in that aspect. So we could just go ahead, we just undo this. Boom. The brilliance of undo. And so right then and there, that goes to show you straight off the bat that you can't treat the Japanese units, whether you're playing with them or playing against them. You can't treat them as the other two units. If the 447 first line, the 447 second line were fighting one another, they're pretty much equivalent, for our purposes in starter kit. The 447 Japanese is not equivalent to those units. He's far superior in terms of resilience and staying alive. Obviously, when he breaks, he's going to lose firepower, but he can still move the next phase. These other guys can't move, so they have the necessity of leaders and the necessity of to rally fairly quickly. So let's talk about leaders and leadership that's available between these 3 specific classes of units. Leaders for the Russians, although starter kits are probably a little different. Describe the leaders that are usually available within these 3 different classes of units, and anybody could chime in. Just give me what you think about the leaders.
Scenarios I've played, usually the Russians don't have quite as many leaders as their opponents.
And of course, there's Russian commissars.
Right. Right. Do they exist in Starter Kit, or are they just kind of they're there? Some of them might. I think there might be a couple of scenario special rules. I think you're right. All right, so let's talk about frequency and quality. Frequency of Russians is probably a little bit on the lower side. And what about the quality of the Russians compared to the other two leaders? Well, let's go stick with frequency. Frequency, who has the most leaders, do you think, in this? Or if it's a tie or whatever? Guesses are fine.
Commonwealth?
Okay. I would agree with that. Commonwealth. And Japanese maybe for a little bit. Let's say the Japanese are just a little bit below the Commonwealth, just for discussion purposes. But yeah, I would say Commonwealth, Japanese, then the Russians. Okay, so that's the case. And so, what's the quality of those particular leaders in terms of leadership morale factors? Do you guys usually see in a standard scenario?
Russians seem to be a little lower.
Okay. What about the Commonwealth?
Well, they're pretty good. I was playing, I think, S62, and the Commonwealth had 4 leaders, and they were all pretty good.
Okay. What do you mean by pretty good?
I think worst was a 8-0.
Right. I don't think you see a lot of 7-0s in Commonwealth scenarios unless there may be like other nationalities, like maybe Free French or whatever. But I think, and then what about the Japanese? Talk to me about the Japanese leaders. They have their own shtick, don't they?
Yeah, I've only played Kawaguchi Gamble. I'm not sure if leaders.
Okay. They have a different structure of leaders. They have like 10 minus ones, 9 minus one. I don't even know if they have 9 minus twos, but their structure of leaders is such that they don't rely on leaders directing their troops,
right?
Per se, because they're essentially just used mainly for movement and initiating some bonsai attacks. So if that's their only purpose, and because they step reduce, the Japanese leaders really don't do a lot of rallying. If you have Japanese units, rallying units, then you probably haven't bonsai'd enough to get those leaders killed off, and you've probably taken too many hits to actually have. If you're rallying units, you've taken a lot of hits and failed a lot of morale checks. So the battle's not going for you if you're rallying units as a Japanese. That's pretty much kind of sums them up, and their leaderships, although they do usually have a decent array in terms of numbers, their strengths in terms of giant fire groups and amassing for giant fire groups, that's kind of not what they're designed for. Whereas the British, they generally have a lot of minus ones, probably more so than either of the other two nationalities. Every once in a while they throw in a -2 as well. -2 leaders for the Russians, pretty rare, for the most part. If you play enough Russian scenarios, once you play enough Russian scenarios, you'll know that those suckers are rare. And so, I like to play a lot of Russians, and when I have a -2 leader, I kind of don't know what the hell to do with them, because the way you play the Russians doesn't really facilitate having these giant leaders around. So in terms of rallying, because the Russians have fewer leaders, in terms of utilizing those leaders, would you put them in, like, say you got -1 leaders? Let's say everyone's got -1 leaders. How would you use the -1 leaders with the Russians versus the Commonwealth versus the Japanese? Would you use them differently? It's okay if you don't use them differently, but is there a difference that you might see in those particular nationalities? You may have not perceived it. If you haven't perceived it, it's not a big deal. That's why we're discussing it here.
I'll admit I'm having to read this right out of the book, but rule book, but it looks like it'd be kind of handy to have in a game. It says a Japanese leader increases the morale level of all Japanese multi-man counters in his location by 1.
Right.
And so that gives you a +1 to the entire morale of the stack. Turns a bunch of 4/4/7s into 4/4/8s.
Right. A lot of times, you'll see a lot of players that have played the Japanese for a while, and this is why I added this 228. Why do you think I have that 228 instead of like a 436 or second or third line? Why do you think I have this unit here for the Japanese? Going along with your concept, John. What's the 228 used for in the Japanese OB? If you don't know it, just say, hey, I haven't gotten there, guys.
I've not gotten there. Don't
Okay.
know.
Anybody else gotten to Japanese? Oh, you said you were at Kawaguchi's Gamble. What are the crews used for in Kawaguchi's Gamble? Do you recall?
I've not played it. I don't know.
Okay. I think one of the other guys said they had played it.
Yeah, Craig said that. I don't know.
I think he's getting some
I
coffee
haven't
or.
played it.
All right. So, the crews with the Japanese, your medium machine guns and higher, can only be used by the Japanese without penalty. If the other units use medium machine guns and higher, they essentially have a -1 breakdown penalty on them because they have crews specifically designed for that role. So, giving this guy a medium machine gun and talk to me about what John had just said in terms of increasing the morale. And usually you have 1 or 2 sets of these guys. So, remember, the one thing we're worried about with the Japanese is loss of firepower, and they will attrit very fast. Why did my screen just double up? Okay, and let's.
Thanks, too. I just wanted to say the best leaders are the finished leaders because you don't need them.
Right. Well, movement. Yeah, exactly. Movement's really good. But so you got 2 stacks right here. Which stack? Let's say we got a Japanese leader. Yeah. They don't even have 8-1 leaders. Let's do a 9-1. This guy, you're gonna stack this guy with one of these stacks. All right. And given the fact that John says the leaders increase the morale of the units in their location by 1, right? Just tell me which one would you put it in? We got 8 firepower here, 12 firepower here.
I'd put him with the 2 medium machine guns because that's going to be able to reach out a lot further into the enemy's backfield than the maximum 6 firepower of the 2 lights in the other stack.
Right.
And with a 9 morale, that's going to withstand an awful lot of return shots.
An awful lot, right, John?
Yes.
A freaking whole hell of an awful lot. Plus, the other thing that you have in this situation is what in that stack of units? What firepower are we looking at in the crew stack? All right.
We're looking at 8 firepower.
Yeah, we have 8 firepower here. How much firepower do we have in the other one?
Well, you have 12 out to a range of 4 hexes.
Okay. Let's just say we're firing 4 hexes. Let's just say
Okay.
for whatever we're firing. Not a jungle. The ranges aren't going to be quite so good all the time, but there are situations. So you might say, hey, Stu, just, maybe put him with this guy over here. And that might be situational. You might need to boost these guys' morale a little bit. But in terms of overall efficiency, these units here, 9 morale, like you said, what's the problem with the Japanese? They are going to step reduce. As soon as this one guy fails a morale check, what's the firepower of that stack out to a range of 4? As soon as yeah, it's the same thing as the other one, right? The mediums. But he needed an 8 to fail, assuming he was stacked with him. As soon as this guy fails a morale check, this 9-1 leader needs a jump ship. Jump ship and come here, if he's not there already. Because now we have 9 morale, medium machine guns, I like your comment about reach out and touch someone. That's a very important part in very many games. If you've got range, and I've been discovering that, Mark and I have been discovering that in our game, is there's like 1 or 2 mediums per side, and that thing is like a howitzer. Because when you're talking 337s in your OB, when you're talking these 336s are pretty much your units. If you've got a range of 10, this son of a bitch has got to move 3 movement phases before he even gets to you in range. And you're just shredding him the entire time. So in those situations, that range controls the battlefield. It just controls the battlefield. And you've got rate of fire. I don't care about the breakdown. I honestly don't really care. You're going to roll anyway. 11 is not going to do anything anyway. And if it breaks, it gives these guys something to do in the rally phase. So yeah, you'll see a lot of players when they're playing Japanese, they will stack their leaders with these guys here. Another reason why is if this is 12 firepower, your enemy is most likely going to be attacking this stack versus the crew stack for 2 reasons. 1, more firepower, straight up. 2, 9 morale. Which one are you going to damage more easily? 9 morale or 7 morale? Yeah. So it's easier to damage this, and that sort of kind of goes into the American sort of psyche. So this stack will be whittling away. This stack will be maintaining its firepower for the entire game. If this unit, let's say both of these units stripe, how much firepower do we have?
8.
Yes, firepower doesn't change. Right? Both of these guys stripe. The firepower goes to 10, which is 8. Any one of these guys stripes, it goes to 8. Both of these guys can stripe, and we don't lose any firepower. So very big. So, and again, we still have. Oops. Let me do an undo. We still have the 9 morale. Right? These guys, if you put them with them, they'd still have the 8 morale, but we all know 8 morale units can fail. 9 morale is a huge difference. So these guys will be whittling away. You might want to use this guy. So, I mean, you could put leaders with here, absolutely, because you're going to have more than one, right? Because the Japanese have a decent array of leaders. You could put a stack there. But again, that just goes to show you the different quality of troops that we're looking at here. Now, that may change. That will change with other nationalities, because other nationalities, their squads can use the mediums, right? And so you might have, like the Germans, 467, 2 mediums, that's 16 firepower, up to 6 X's. Therefore, their leadership, based upon their support weapon usage, changes with that nationality. But yeah, that's what the coverage I want to cover here. Again, the allies here usually have probably about the same array of support weapons that the Japanese have, same combat frequency. Their leaders might be a little better overall. You're probably going to see more -1 leaders with the 447, so you're going to be able to stack, a -1 with each of these leaders. The Japanese don't really have a lot of -1s. They have a lot of zeros, 9 zeros, 8 zeros, things like that, 10 zeros, sometimes 10 ones. So they're not going to have a lot of that minus leadership modifier behind it anyway. And where do the Japanese usually get all their movement from anyway?
Bonsai Charge.
Bonsai Charge. So your leaders, this leader here, as long as you qualify for the Bonsai Charge, one leader can move an array of squads forward very fast. So their leadership in terms of mobility is primarily for the Bonsai Charges. As long as you do it properly, you'll be fine. As long as you set those things up properly. Yeah, you are going to take some breaks, but you should be obtaining your objectives. You really can't do the same thing with these guys. You got to trudge them through whatever terrain they're going through. But their -1 leadership allows them to trudge a little bit better. Now the Russians, they usually don't have the same array of firepower in terms of support weapons as some of the other nationalities. I think Starter Kit gives them a little bit more than that I'm used to them seeing. So it's not really too bad, because the scenarios are a little bit smaller. So you might need a little bit more firepower and more oomph. And if you have more units, usually the Russians have more units in the ASL scenarios versus the SK scenarios. Because if you had more units in the SK scenario and it's a smaller scenario, you just overwhelm them with troops. Essentially, that's what the Russians did anyway. But your weapons are typically Your mediums, can't move them around. Like this medium right here are the Japanese 3 portage points. You know, the medium on a 447 might as well be a 155 howitzer because this thing's really hard to move. You move them really slowly with that. So, with John's idea of Firebase, you might want a leader around that medium machine gun because A, you probably don't want your leaders up front taking all the damage because of your lack of number of leaders. You'll need them to rally the broken units. So if they're up in the front getting shot to hell, A, you're not in the back or in the position to rally units, and B, you're not with the heavy weapons, the 4 portage point mortars, the 5 portage point medium machine guns or HMGs. They usually don't get HMGs. If you get an HMG, just cherish that thing for a couple turns and then break it on turn 3. And then, but the mediums are very heavy, and you'll see a lot of players putting their medium machine guns as plain Russian in the front line, and that's probably the worst position that you could put a medium machine gun for the Russians in that situation, because once you break, it's not moving anywhere. Whereas, well, the Japanese don't break, but the Germans medium machine gun, 3 portage points. American medium machine gun, 3 portage points. I think the British might be 3 as well. So you see a trend where those are 3 portage point weapons for those nationalities. So those machine guns can be a little bit closer to the front, because if you break, you can bring them with you. For the Russians, they're more of a support weapons, in terms of literally support weapons, in terms of not bringing right on the front line, because if the enemy focuses you, they're neutralizing not only your squad, but that medium machine gun, and they're, likely capturing that thing, because you're going to get blasted, or whatever. Or
can 2 leaders join together and add their portage points?
No.
Okay.
But 2 leaders could join together and fire a medium machine gun that was left behind by a broken unit at full firepower. But is that going to happen when a Russian? Are you going to put 2 leaders in one location with the Russians?
No.
Yeah.
Unlikely.
Yeah. If you are, it's probably the last turn of the game. Because that's I would fire everything at those 2 leaders, because then nobody's coming alive then. They just don't really usually have the leadership. Anytime you see 2 leaders in one location, that should turn into a priority target almost all the time. Almost all the time. I don't care what you're firing at. Leadership and ability to move units and get units and, advancing units and things like that, supporting units. If he doesn't have any leaders, the game is over. The game is over. That's all there is to it. He's got nowhere. He breaks. Nobody rallies them. Nobody's around to rally. And so he just crumbles like a house of cards. So that's a simple example of the 447. So I'm just going to delete these guys. So again, and the one thing I brought down here with this unit here, what's the difference between these 2 units in terms of the Commonwealth? Well, there's a huge difference. I mean, the second line and the first line are huge for the Commonwealth / British. Tell me about this unit specifically.
Smoke exponent.
Okay, that's pretty damn good, right? First line unit's got 2 smoke exponents, pretty damn good. Anything else that may or may not be on the counter?
Range.
Range is excellent. 5 hex range. You'll see that coming into play a lot more often than not, and that extra hex, it can make a big difference. And you should set up for it too as well. You should set up this guy be defending things at 5 hex range instead of 4, right? Like, do you want him defending here in AA4 along this roadway, or do you want him defending here along this roadway? He practically has the same fire attacks. You look at these 3 hexes, but if you've got a set of 447s coming down, right? These little bastards coming down here, right? If you're here, what are they firing you at?
Well, firepower.
And what are you firing at them?
4.
Right. Move back a hex. What are they firing at you? Let's assume this guy can see you.
6.
Right. Half their firepower. And your firepower?
Full up.
4. So you went from 12 plus 1 versus your 4+1, which is a column shift of, Jesus, 3, right? To a column shift of only 1, 2, 4, 6. Only 1 versus 3s. It's like having a -2 leader or +2 terrain. Essentially, you back it up 1 hex, gives you +2 on your defense because they have no firepower to deal with it. If they want to get their firepower, they got to make the move out in the open, and then you rip the guy in the middle. And then you're golden. So that, the 5x range, yeah, this looks prettier, right? I can see this, 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 and this. But if they come from behind this hedge and they advance right there, you're not firing on them. If you're here and they advanced right there, you could fire on them. You could fire on either of these units or any of them. Let's assume this is thing is in here. Rain. Anyway, let's assume this is clear.
I got a fire group question for you.
All right.
This is maybe silly, but let's say these 3 are a fire group.
All right.
This guy is here. The Russians say, I'm going to make a fire group and shoot at you with 12. And then they go, oh, I can't see you.
Thank you.
I'll shoot at you with an 8. Is that legal?
Well, first of all, you ask him who's the 8.
Well, these would be the 12 that they said they were going to make a fire group out of.
Right. Which would be an error. And then they say, oops, I'm going to fire you at 8 instead.
Right.
Why is that incorrect as well?
Well, the argument is that it is a fire group because they're all adjacent to each other.
Right. This unit is no longer, this unit is not a member of the fire group because he does not have LOS to the target.
Yeah.
So he's not, he's like that.
Well, okay, so if you don't have LOS the target, you cannot be part of the fire group.
Correct.
Okay, that was just a discussion I had. That's what I figured was the correct answer. Thanks.
Yeah. Yeah. Otherwise, you could have some really wonky ass stuff going on there. I mean, this could be like an 838 or something like that, and this could be a 1-2. You know, this guy's got a machine gun. I've got to fire 12. You know, because there's like a broken half squad here or something like that. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay,
Thanks for the overlay. Thanks, guys. That's wonderful. So again, right here, actually, this. I mean, the difference between there's 5 hexes. This is the subtlety that you have to look at. And that's what the Russian has to deal with, right? Because guess what? He's not going to have any leadership. What will you most likely have? You're most likely going to have an 8-1 sitting around somewhere. This would be a good spot for 8-1. You know, you break, you're out back here. You know, so if you have an 8-1 in that instance, this shot, the Russians' attack versus your attack is exactly the same. Exactly the same. This is going to be a 6+1. This is going to be a 4 even. Actually, yours might be better. 4 even, 6+1. Yeah, yours is better. No, 4 even. Yeah, 4 even, same. 6+1. For the most part, obviously snake eyes, you know, whatever. But for the average rolls, the results will be the same. So these 3 squads firing at you with an 8-1 leader is equivalent back and forth. And you're probably going to win that exchange, even though the firepower is even, effectively. Why? Why will you? Well, let me hold on. Hold on. Come on, baby. Where are you? Or even 6+1. Why will you win that exchange overall if you sit there for like 10 turns and you keep firing at each other? Why are you going to win that?
Morale? A better morale with the leader?
Better morale with the leader. The leader's got an 8 morale. It's going to break, and his leadership modifier helps with your morale when you take a morale check. You'll have a slightly better advantage over that. You'll win this. You'll win this overall if you play this situation out 20 times and you just fire back and forth at each other. As soon as you break one unit, it's almost a done deal, because now let's say the other guy, let's say this guy breaks and he rots away. Now you've got 2 firepower or 4 firepower. So he's 4+1, you're 4 even. And just straight up, those numbers don't work for him. If he breaks, then it's a done deal. You see how that kind of works? Even though he has 3 squads. Now his advantage is what? What is the Russian's advantage in this instance? He says, I'm tired of this bullshit. What's his advantage?
Look at Russia.
He's got numbers. He just, you're only going to be able to fire so many times. He may be able to get one person behind you. He might pass a couple morale checks, stuff like that. One guy might be pinned, and that's I don't think they have human wave. I don't think they have human wave starter kit, but that's the idea behind that. The human wave is the advantage for the Russians. They'll use their leaders, which are valuable, and these units will then be able to rush you. But yeah, that's ASL. But again, and let's say the leader wasn't here. Well, okay, the other thing that we have to take into consideration in terms of being even and being ahead, these units can do what, whereas this unit will not do. When I'm firing at each other, when they're firing at each other.
Assault move?
No, when they're firing at each other.
Oh.
If the Russians fire at the Brits, what can occur? Number 3.
Oh, cower.
Right. What do the Brits do not do? Well, the first line, at least.
Don't cower.
They do not cower. So right then and there, the 4s and 6s that this unit will roll. Snake Eyes is a good roll regardless. 4s and 6s will make a big impact. This unit won't cower. These guys will lose firepower. On the doubles, of course. That's another facet you have to add in. And then you add the leader in here, which you don't need for cowering. Again, the leaders are not to stop your units from cowering. It's not a big deal. So if you have a medium machine gun on this Brit, right? Do you need a leader? You need this is the better one. In this instance, you don't need a leader for this guy. If anything, put a 7-0 with him. Why would I put a 7-0 versus an 8-1? Let's say the 8-1 might be better served for rallying units. He might be in the back over here. Maybe you got a unit over here defending. When they both break, he can make a move to either side to try and rally those units. The 7-0 or 6+1 here is going to be used for what? Primarily. What do you guys think? It's on the counter.
Think rally.
That's useful, but more primarily, what can be used for with this medium machine gun? You look on the counter.
Well, move it around.
Yeah, move it around. It's a little heavy. It's a little heavy. It's not the American medium, but it's a little heavy. He can still move 3 movement places, but with the leader, he gets to move how many?
6.
6.
5.
He gets to move 6. That's where your leader can add his portage point to him.
6.
All right. So if you had this 8-0, this thing can move 6 hexes instead of 3 hexes. Twice the distance. Twice the distance with the 6+1 leader. That's huge. That's two movement phases. And then you've got the advance phase. So he's moving 7 hexes versus 4, practically twice the distance. But again, he doesn't need a leader because he's not going to cower. That medium machine gun, if it gets rate, is going to fire forever. So you don't necessarily need to stack your leaders with your support weapons. Stack them with other troops supporting them. You break, you come back and rally. This unit moves over here, takes a position over. If he breaks, he comes back and rally. Why? Because we have a good leader back here, rallying units, 8-1. If we're up here and we break, then everyone routes and nothing happens. This guy goes over here and gets shredded. This way, we're constantly feeding units up to the front line. So little differences between those units. Okay, that's enough for the Russians and the Brits and really these guys.
A route
What's that?
question, Stu?
Yeah, absolutely.
A route question?
Sure.
A unit in a big building, of course, can ignore the building and route out of it. But that doesn't apply to a unit in a big woods, does it?
Not at all. Never says it in the rules.
Okay.
Because some woods are gigantic, right? I mean, literally, there are some boards that are 95% woods. I mean, in ASL at least, there's some wood. I mean, it's crazy. So that kind of breaks it at that point, and that's probably why they do it, is because there's a greater copse of woods. I mean, theoretically, it's the same sort of principle, but I guess the idea of being in a building is you're confined. And if they're coming at you, you've got nowhere to run to. And so honestly, if you're out in the woods, you could really kind of go wherever you want to, and you're, you know, they're less likely to find you or whatever the case may be. You know, they're going to be occupying that building anyway. It's usually pretty much an objective, but woods are just kind of scantily. So yeah, a lot of guys come up with those questions, and it's just a misconception. It's simply just a misconception. That's all there is to it. They're not playing it wrong. It's just a misconception, which is not a big deal. Not a big deal. All right, so let's go to the Americans in terms of adding with that bonus. What's the first thing you see on the Americans? Smoke. That's primarily the biggest advantage Americans have over all the nationalities. I mean, the best any other nationality is going to have is a 2, and those are going to be, well, the Brits are pretty good, and the Fallschirmjägers usually have a 2 morale, or all the elite units are the ones that are going to be starting to get a little bit more smoke availability. First line units, you know, he's got three smoke. Second line unit's got 2 smoke. You know, a green unit, I think, what the hell does a green unit have? I don't know. Green unit's got 2 smoke. That's pretty sick. Green units run around, throw smoke grenades everywhere. So it's crazy. So that's the one advantage. What's the other advantage you don't see directly on these units, on the American units?
Better broken morale.
Better broken morale. What's the morale on the backside of this green unit? The green units can be different. So
I don't know.
it's going to go up to 7. But on a second line, and do that. So it goes up. Let's say he's a second line unit. He still goes 7. Still goes up, right? 7's pretty good for a second line unit. And our first line goes up to what? Dang it.
8.
Roll Q. Yeah, 8 morale. That's huge. That's huge. This isn't even. It's not even fair for the other nationalities. It makes their frontline 6 morale units, and the 747s are exactly the same. They go up to 8 morale. The first line units gain 2 morale factors. Everybody else gains 1 morale factor, except for maybe the Marines. I'm not familiar with the brand. I don't play the Marines a lot. So 2 actual morale factors. So what does that mean for your American troops in terms of what you can expect? Well, first of all, what do you expect from this unit if he's in a woods hex and he's getting fired upon by some bad guys? What can you expect from that American unit if he's getting fired upon?
He's gonna break.
Yeah, he's gonna break a lot, right?
Never fails.
Yeah, he's gonna be breaking. He's gonna be breaking a lot. But what else is he going to be doing as well?
Getting right back up.
He's going to be rallying a lot, right? Be rallying a lot. So terrain is very important for the Americans, just in terms of defense and keeping them alert and alive. But this unit breaking, and again, the leadership of Americans is usually the best in terms of numbers of leaders. The quality of leaders usually floats around about a -1. They have more 7-0s, I think, in the array of a standard, you know, through the history of games that I've played. They have more 7-0s floating around than almost anybody else. Usually everyone, their lowest leader, like the Brits, might be an 8-0. The 7-0s are just as, you know, they're pretty much equivalent for the most part. But also that the American unit has, in terms of advantage, the only disadvantage he has is the 6 morale. And that's really not much, considering they usually have a decent amount of units, so they can afford a couple cracks. But this unit also has 2 other things going for it. The first line unit, at least. Firepower and range, right? Firepower, range. So if they don't break you, on their shot, most likely you're going to break them on the return shot. If you're in similar terrain. If you have 2 of these bad boys hanging around versus 2 of the enemies, which are usually 4 firepower units, right? We might be in a situation like this. We're firing to the left. Let's say there's a German unit over here. A couple of German units. Right. If he gets shot off this guy, if the guy gets 8+1, this guy, he kind of gacks his roll. It rolls like an 8 or a 7 or something like that. And we get like a morale check and we pin. Right? No big deal. Let's just say this guy's either right here. Let's say we pin. We don't break, but we pin. The pin goes off the end of the turn. These guys advance. They cower. Some they run over here or something like that. And then next turn, it's going to be 12+1. We're going to have that extra. It's like having a -1 leader with us, on the return shot. They got an 8+1, we got a 12+1. So that's essentially a column shift. So they're going to be hurting more often than we are. They do have the morale, slightly better morale. But, again, if we want to hightail it out of here, what can we do? We can drop smoke right in front of our face. This unit can drop smoke right here. Hopefully. Nope, not that time. Oh, there we go. We could drop smoke here. Again, 50% chance, pretty damn good shot. And then he could just skedaddle over this way. This guy can go here 2, 3, 4, in case like somebody could shoot him there, that sort of thing. One guy drops the smoke to cover everybody else. Or maybe somebody might be over here and then out of line of sight and drop smoke for these guys to get out. So the smoke's going to happen a lot. It's going to happen a lot. Sometimes some games that you won't ever get it, but it's going to happen a lot more. These guys, I mean, I don't even consider that a smoke exponent, to be honest with you. Sometimes it's better just to assault move and just take it like a man or something like that, because
You get a 6.
Yeah.
Just as much.
Well, I guess if you're going to assault move with the German units, drop smoke. Because if you're only an assault move, I'm going to assault the Y3. Yeah, I might as well drop smoke. Drop smoke here, drop smoke here for this unit, because I'm only moving 1 hex anyway. And the shot's going to be the same whether he shoots me here with assault move, or I drop smoke here and assault move there, whatever the case may be. And that way this guy can possibly do it. So if you move your 4, 6, 7s 1 hex, if you're skulking or assault moving or something like that, if you're skulking, you probably don't want to drop because they'll shoot at you. Then drop smoke for your allies. Even I'm not talking, they're shooting. He's shooting straight at me. Or let's say right here. Let's see, get a straight line. A lot of times, if you've got something like this, and he's shooting straight at you, right? A lot of guys will drop smoke right in front of him. But like if you're going to move in this direction here, and you've got like a unit here that can see this location, let's assume he can see that location. Then, if it's a 528 or something like that, a lot of times you might want to drop smoke like at an odd angle, like into Z2, in this case, into Z2. So both of these units will be obscured in that shot over there. Theoretically, they are obscured. A lot of times, or drop it on yourself, like if you're in a decent position. Drop it here if they're line of sight. If you're here, drop it on you. If their line of sight will go through your hex to a target, if you're going to move units over here. This guy's not going to move. Let's say it's a building or something like that. Just drop smoke on you. And it's first of all, it costs you 1 MF, right? They only get 1 shot on you instead of 2 if you're dropping it over there. And plus, if you do get it, then your guys in the back are pretty much free and clear to move. And it makes a big difference. If your guys aren't going to do anything anyway, try and drop a smoke if a guy could possibly, fire. If the fire is going to be going through your hex or a hex next to you, that is very important for a guy to go. Try to attempt it. You never know. You never know with the ones. It's free. If you get it, it's free. If not, he's going to fire on you anyway. So it's like, whatever. I'll try it. So it's not great, but sometimes it does make a big difference. And sometimes it makes a big difference. So Americans, usually they have lots of, they have their firepower is 50% more than anyone else's. The range is usually greater than everyone else's, except for the Germans, first lines. The morale is the only thing that's going against them, and a lot of people don't like playing the Americans because of morale. I don't have a problem with that. 8-1 leaders running around, you're rallying on a 6. I mean, it's better than any 4, 6, 7. Now, this guy breaks, right? You got an 8-1 leader with him. What's he rallying on? In woods, it's gonna be 5. These guys are 6. It's gonna be 6, then a 9. This, a 6 and a 10 rather, if you're in woods with a -1 leader. Because the Germans and Americans have about the same ratio of types of quality of squads, same number of squads, very similar. The Germans might have a little bit more support weapons, But the Americans don't care because they have the firepower, the base firepower. Their support weapons are included kind of into their squads. So these guys running around, he's got a lot of, he could reach a long way with 6 firepower. And that does a lot of damage. That just does a lot of damage.
They must be counting BAR.
Yeah, it's the barman. Yeah, it's the barman in there. So a lot of damage for the Americans. But that's why 667s are very powerful, because now you have equal morale with the Germans, equal range, and 50% more firepower. It's tough. It's tough. 2 guys, 2 squads is 12 firepower versus 3 squads for everybody else, pretty much. I mean, that's another 50% of your force you have to come to bear, and sometimes you might not want to do that because it exposes them to fire. So, any other advantages or disadvantages you guys might think of that the Americans might have? I have one. Of course, this is me. Overconfidence. Overconfidence. I got a 6 firepower unit. I'm going to blast the living shit out of you. I'm going to move into these woods. I'm going to advance fire on you. What do I have to take into consideration? That 6 morale. You see the 6-6, and then you kind of stop right there. So I'm going to blast him. It's sometimes American players are overconfident. But
I get that with the 747.
Right. So what do you need to do with the 747s? In terms of balance that overconfidence, what must you use with the Americans?
Smoke and move closer.
You have to use the smoke to compensate for the poor morale. I mean, it's an elite unit with 7 morale. First line, 6 morale. You've got to use smoke to get you up there, and then once you get up there in the building, now you've got the +3 building. Now I've got the essentially consider the TEM your morale booster. Okay, now my morale's 7. Now my morale's 9. Use the smoke to get there. If these guys need to get to this building, this guy is dropping smoke like here, or he's probably dropping smoke there every single time. He's going to take the shot. If he fails, who cares? The objective is to get these guys over here, and they need the smoke. They're not going to get there otherwise. This 4 even shot's going to rip that guy a new one. 4 even's what, a 7? That's a 6 for a normal morale check. If he gets a normal morale check, this guy's breaking. Just like these other units that we're going to get to. We can't afford that normal morale check. This guy we could afford a normal morale check on. Because this is the 6 even, this is the 4 even shot that this guy's going to be subjected to. When he assault moves and he drops smoke here, he doesn't get it. Now he's, moving the open. It's 4-1, but he's got the morale level to kind of compensate a little bit for it. But this guy really needs the smoke. You really need to use more smoke as the Americans. And you'll see your success rates in terms of just mobility and getting guys where they need to go skyrocket. This guy's you have to expend movement factors for that, gentlemen. You just don't get it for free. It just doesn't come out of the air. You've got to pay for it. You've got to pay for that defense, and that defense is rolling a d6 and expending 1 or 2 movement factors. Once it drops, +2 hindrance. These guys are garbage. They're going to miss so many more shots that way. And we've covered the number of times that modifiers can really change everything up in a game. +2 modifier from a -1 to a +2. That's night and day. It's not even close. Not even close. Anything else about the Americans?
I was going to say the assault fire capabilities.
Oh, right. The assault fire, absolutely. So
Especially with the 7s.
Yeah.
That goes from a 2 to a 4.
Right. That's huge. That's full firepower. That's a 467 running around has 2 firepower. 666 running around has 4 firepower. So they move and they fire at 4 firepower. And guess what? If this 747 moves adjacent to you, what's his firepower?
10.
Well, no, if he moves, he advances fire on you, what's his firepower going to be?
8.
8 firepower. The guy goes up. That's pretty stupid. So this guy is better off, right? If there's a German here, shooting out our guys over here, the 747, let's say the 747 can see here, right? This 747 is better off getting into this position attempting a shot than shooting from where he is. You drop smoke there, right? Because you're American. We need to move him. We drop our smoke. We cross the street. He might take a shot there. We don't care. That's an 8+2. That's a great shot. Then we fired 8 firepower instead of 6 firepower. And this guy could have prep fired, whatever, unless he wants to move over here, or whatever the case may be. But that's 8 firepower now. His firepower just went up because he's a little bit further away. And if nothing happens to this unit, he has to decide, am I going to stay adjacent to this guy and suck up a 12 firepower chart, or am I going to move? Well, you may need to move. And guess what? If this unit, let's say there's another board over there, if this unit or the other unit that didn't smoke, well, if he smokes, he goes 2 and then 3, and then he advances here, right? This unit is then taking a flank on this 467, or this unit moves first, he takes the first fire. This unit could just then move freely over here, and he takes the other flank. Do we need to have giant fire groups with the Americans to be effective? No, that's overkill. This is bullshit. This is overkill. Anybody who does this is a coward. This is what you want. You want it spread out, good coverage. He can't move anywhere without getting shot. So even if he does assault move back, this guy's going to rip him. This guy's going to rip him. One of these guys is going to have a shot on that dude. And that's what you want. So he's not getting away for free. And that's what the smoke does for you. So the Americans are very good in getting in those positions. And another thing, because the Americans have a lot of leaders, right? That's what the leaders are for. You got a 7-0 there. We don't need 8-1s. We don't need 9-1s. We don't need 9-2s. Those are for the people that don't know how to fight, right? Americans know how to move. Americans like to move shit. So let's move some squads. This guy can't get over here. Take the 7-0, drop the smoke, advance the guy. He first fires, right? Let's move him. Let's move them all. Who cares? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Let's move them all. We move him for free. He's a taxi cab. And then they move up. 7-0 doesn't go with them. Why? Because we need him over here somewhere to rally. If they break, they need to rally to the leader. They got to rally. The Americans have the morale. They need to rally. Screw the non-cowering. You don't care if you cower if you're firing on the 12 chart. You just don't care. It's a 12 chart. If it's a 4 chart, you might probably gonna miss. 12 chart, you roll 6, you cower. So what? You go down to the 8 chart. If it's a 6+2, you still get a morale check. So half your cowering doesn't matter. You don't need them if you have this much firepower. Your firepower just nullifies all the cowering effects. It just nullifies it. So because your morale goes up and your strength is rallying, getting back in the battle, him being in the front line directing fire is not doing you much good. I'm going to avoid a cower, I don't give a shit about the cower. It's not that important. He needs to be here. He also needs to be or close proximity to be able to do what? To give this guy mobility again when he is advancing, or wherever the case it may be, wherever he's advancing. He can go 8 movement factors. Remember, we're moving firepower on the map. This is a lot of firepower. If we can move that 6 firepower unit 8 hexes and cover us, or this guy can go the entire way up to the top of the board. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then advance. That's not even counter exhausting. Now he's got a 6x range covering that instance over there. Much more important to move that unit to be able to bring huge amounts of firepower. And even if he's medium machine guns are kind of pointless with the Americans unless you're stacked. But it moves the units where they can bring cover fire to bear on other units. And for rallying. 8-1 is great for rally. 9-1, you can put the 9-1 with a unit, probably with a medium machine gun or a stack or something like that. 9-1, most likely the leader's going to survive most fire. So you could rally in place or route with a unit, so not that big a deal. 8-1's a little more precarious. Again, they're very, very effective in rallying. So 8-1, you're even much better served in keeping. You're more better served in putting 8-1 in the back or rally point than having him up in the front with a shot. Why? Again, it always falls back to firepower. We have the firepower. We don't need your stinking -1. Does it help? Obviously it helps. That's not a question. But it doesn't help as much as it does this 467 who's probably firing a 6 chart if he's got an LMG. You know, we're firing 12. This guy's firing a 6 or 7. 6 or 8 chart. We will break. He won't break as often. We will break more often than this guy. We need to rally him. The -1 kicks that 8 morale unit because he'll break on the backside. Let me break him. 8 -1 there. Rallies this unit on a 6. It's pretty good. He's up and going. 3's gonna get everybody up, just about. He's up and going sooner than later. And again, you only have to, if you fail the first time, then you win the lottery the second time. Because it's going to be a 10. You go from a 6 to a 10. You know? 6 to a 10. You have that's a 1 in 12 chance of not rallying that unit. On the second rally phase, after you lose a DM. 1 in 12 chance of not rallying the unit. It's like a 92% chance. He's getting up. He's moving around. -1 does that. It almost guarantees that guy up and going. And your enemy knows it. So if your enemy is smart enough to know, I love it when Vassal kind of ghosts units. It's a real pain in the ass. If your enemy knows that when he's firing on you and you can reach that, get that unit to a rally point. Well, let's say this guy breaks here. 467 shoots, breaks one of our units. He routes back to 8-1 leader. This guy's still here covering the road, covering up here. Rally comes off. If he knows he can't get to that 8-0 to this broken unit, he's back in action. Guaranteed. He has to accommodate for that. He knows this guy's coming back. And then guess what? Assault move. We're back within 1 player turn, we're back in the exact same situation. The Germans don't have that luxury. They just don't. They just don't have that morale. You know? And then we can just move up here. With this guy here. With this guy right here. Or behind the line. Something. Get him up there. Rallying that units, throw them back on the line. 8-1s. Very good. Very good for that purpose. So, any other disadvantages for the Americans? Other than the overconfidence. I don't know of any. Their arm, well, but we won't even go into their armor. We're just talking infantry. I don't care about their armor. Everybody's armor gets destroyed. All right. Germans. Good leadership modifiers. Large number of leaders. Pretty much the mainstay of all the force. Great range for 467s, especially against these other nationalities that usually fight. If you look on the screen, the remainders, even against the British, which I deleted here, essentially they're equivalent to this unit here: 5 hex range, 4 hex range. The minor ally. Well, these are minor allies. 3 hex range. They outrange their opponents. Most of all the time, they outrange the Russians. 4 hex range. They outrange them. If they keep them at range, they'll be fine. They'll have LMGs, range of 8, MMGs, range of 12. Keep them at range because you don't have the numbers on most of your opponents. Usually you're outnumbered by a slight amount. So your range and firepower have to make up for it. Use those in your games. That's why I ask you, why is the 467 better here versus the 447? And you guys always say, because he could shoot further. Use that advantage in your games. Make sure if you have 447s and 467s, put the 467 where he covers more area. The 447, if he's only going to be firing 4 hex range, the 467 is equivalent. You're not going to be using smoke anyway, most of the time. So the unit, the morale is the same, firepower is the same, and the range, if you're at 4 hexes or less, they're exactly the same unit for all intents and purposes. So use the range. That's the only thing they got. Conscripts, garbage all around. But actually he has a spray fire, but we don't have that in starter kit, so we don't have to worry about that. But again, still 4 firepower. What are we doing with our conscripts? What do we want to do with our conscripts in a lot of games? Especially in starter kit.
Buildings.
Stay in buildings and do what? We move around in buildings. What's our objective? Two things.
Well, I don't know what the object is.
Two things we probably want to try and get our conscripts to do. They're not easy. They're not easy, but two things they could be useful. Two things that we could use to avoid the detriment of our range and our morale. If we have conscript units, they're not. Sometimes they have to hold positions in the front. Flanks maybe not so good because if the enemy attacks our flanks, they're probably going to crumble. But and again, they don't have a lot of movement factors, but you can counter exhaust these units. You could cut a route path or two, or change a route path. You know, so you can't route to one side or the other. Stay out of range, because you don't need to be within range to cut the route path. Stay out of range, but in line of sight, and you're fine. Or what you could do is if you have a lot of heavy cover, like you said, you want to jump into close combat. You want to jump into close combat because now you have killing potential. Right? This unit firing on this 4 on the 457 the stone building, 0 killing potential. If we have an opportunity to get closer and jump this guy in close combat, right? It does two things. A, it's even, so it's hard for him to kill us, and it's hard for him to kill them. We need 5 for casualty reduction. Plus, it ties them up so our other units can make moves to the victory locations. He's a weaker unit. In ASL, that concept changes a little bit. You're taking more risk, but it gets more value out of the unit. It simply gets more value out of the unit. Plus, what else does the 436 do? Just like every other multi-man counter in terms of victory conditions. If you have a 436, you have don't know what to do. And you're playing in S1. What can he do?
Occupy a building?
Yeah, he occupies a building, he wins the game for you. He occupies or controls buildings. Just like everybody else. Just like everybody else. So don't forget that. Don't forget that. So, conscripts, they are weaker, but just know they have the same fire in close combat as the 467. They'll tie them up, and they can break route paths like everyone else, and they can occupy victory objectives. 6+1 with this guy running around. He's got 7 movement factors. When they counter exhaust, that'll get him to an objective. That'll get him to an objective. Is the enemy going to fire on the conscript and the leader? He might, but if you throw a couple 467s and put the heat on, he probably might ignore him. You know, unless he knows exactly what you're doing. You know, in that case, he has to make a decision. Do I fire long range to the 436, or do I allow you to bully me up when you're gathering your forces for an attack? Again, if you make him make decisions, then it's going to be more difficult on him. If he makes the wrong one at the wrong time, it could spell disaster. So, but Germans overall, your mainstay. They're almost in every single scenario. Solid overall. Their troops. 548's probably the best units in the game. 467s are great. 468s are great. I can't play the 468s for shit, but they're great units. Great firepower. They're, you know, I'm not gonna go into the vehicles. We're not gonna go about the vehicles. Support weapons pretty decent. You know, overall pretty good. Pretty good to play. That's why a lot of guys like to play Germans. Most of the Germans. So let's go to these you know, the schlep rock of starter kit. So these are going to be the expansion packs and the bonus packs, crap like that. I honestly love the Italians because they suck so bad. 346, no firepower, limited range, limited morale. They break, their morale goes down on both units. Hard to keep alive, hard to rally, but usually they have decent amount of numbers. And so the numbers and the way you don't really want to stack your units per se. And if you have leaders, again, your leaders, you might want to use your leaders to put in a decent fire group, whether it's a single hex or multi-hex, something like that. try to put them as far away as possible from enemy units. Like if you're firing on this unit, make sure maybe put them in the back, keep them out of range of the enemy unit to keep them alive. So and you might, considering the conscripts, they're going to fail ELR. The ELR is going to be the lowest probably in the entire game, in a lot of situations, and so they're going to be breaking down the conscripts more often, and so therefore, even if you have leaders with a support weapon on the conscript, like a 7-0, something like that, might be good for when you really need them not to cower in terms of firepower shots. So it helps a lot in that aspect, because the double cowering of the conscripts is far worse than the 3-4-6 carrying one column. It pretty much just nullifies your attack. So cowering you have to really worry about in the Italians. I don't mind their weapons per se. LMGs have practically no range, but the mediums are fine, heavies are fine. Their tanks are usually pretty small, although I don't want to bring up their vehicles because most of their tanks are very small, hard to hit. So even if you're unopposed versus enemy armor, if they're firing machine guns or ATRs at you, it's going to be hard to hit them, as well as the vehicles from these other nationalities. Very small vehicles, so they have a tendency to stay alive a little longer. But Italians, their leadership's not too bad, to be honest with you. They usually go from 7-0 up to, 9-1 in their array. It's just their morale's low, and then they're like the opposite of the Americans. Instead of going up, it goes down. And so you really have to play them differently. They have no smoke. They're going to be taking some extra shots. So if you can, in terms of getting these units around, conversely with the Americans, when the Americans can drop smoke to get their 6 morale factor units around, these units don't have smoke. But they do have another type of smoke that you can use. What type of smoke is that? It's figuratively speaking, by the way. Deception. Bait him. Bait him with another shot. Move a unit in cover, or move your LMG up a little closer. Make it. I'm starting my attack now. Boom. Fire that unit. Try bait a shot out, and conceal your actual intent. If my intent is to get to this building, and if there's an enemy unit, let's say like right here or something like that, if I want to get to this building, and that's the objective, is to get to that building, then if you have a unit here, right, maybe move him here, assuming you have a leader back here. Again, you're paying for every hex that you're gaining with the Italians. You are losing breaking units every single turn. Bait him with a shot. Is this guy going to fire here? Don't know, because you're going to end up here. Like you may end up. Well, you're not going to end up at a conscript. Let's say he's the first line, just to give more movement factors. There we go. So we got 2. Then maybe he doesn't want you to go in that woods. Plus, maybe he's 4-2. He's dead. I can fire on these guys over here. So he fires on him here. 3 hex range. You're not moving here, right? You're going to go 1, 2, 3, and then you're going to advance phase here. You're going to end up there at the turn. I think the Italians have to use the end up there at the end of the turn more than anybody else, simply because if he ends up there during the turn, he'll have to go across, and that might be a subsequent. You don't want subsequent first fire shots for the Italian 6s, the 6 morale. Again, the Americans might be able to get away with it. Why? Because if the American breaks here, he routes here, and he rallies in next turn. He self-rallies in his next turn. Because this guy's going to be dealing with this guy over here, this guy over here. So he's going to DM him, or he's going to try to break these units. I don't know. Well, if they're Americans, he's definitely not attacking your unit here. He's definitely attacking these guys. Same concept, though. You might have to expend a unit to get this unit into this location. I'm going to break a 3-4-6 to take this building. Guess what? If you were normally assaulting the building, you're probably going to lose units anyway, right? Think of it that way. If there's a 4-6, 4-5-7 there, if I have to assault that building, I'm likely going to get brought into units broken. This is just a little bit differently, and it's a little softer sort of break in terms of just, okay, it's kind of like weird looking. But it allows you to get to this building, whereas, if this guy moves here, he's going to shred him here. I mean, he's just going to get shredded. And then this guy has to either go back around here, Come this way. So that's another thing you could do is if you only wanted one unit to go there, shred the conscript, into the first line. You might want to go 1, 2, and then you could advance phase here. To go here, why would I want to go here? Moving closer to the 457 on my way to X1. First of all, he might think that I'm just going to get closer to him. So if I move closer here,
on the unit if it's farther, then right.
Right. This other guy goes 2, 3, and then advances. He gets there for free. This guy's gonna break. He's gonna shred. Probably, we don't have disrupt, but yeah, he's just gonna break. Route over here. Again, if he's broken over here, and we're in our objective, is this guy gonna spend time to come try and kill his broken unit? Which is kind of like, it's kind of like a sick thought. But if you've got broken units all over the place, and the guy sees them, he says, well, I'm going to go DM that unit. Maybe he gets distracted and he wants to go DM this unit just because he could DM the unit, instead of actually paying attention to the objective. Then maybe this unit can actually get rallied by some 7-0 leader and come back into the fray. And again, if he's up here and this unit breaks, right, can't route this direction, he's got to go over here. He can't, well, he could go up here, go up that way. He can't go to our woods. Broken unit, he's just like any other unit in the game, stops route paths just as effectively as a 666 squad. Just as effectively. You just have to have line of sight, and either broken or unbroken, doesn't really matter. And with the Italians, because of that, because you're going to be broken more often, right? Because you're going to be broken more often, you might want to consider using the Italians as body shields or route pass blocks. If we break him, right, and we route him back 2 hexes, and then this unit routes up here, he could possibly route this direction if he has a leader or whatever like that, and keeps this unit DM for one thing. Then he may have to route away. But if we're broken in the front line, what does that give us? What advantage does that give us? Because we're going to have a lot of broken units, and they're going to be remaining broken for extended periods of time. We want to be able to route these guys or leave these guys, broken units, in positions where, just like I was discussing, where this guy can't occupy that, right? If this guy was broken here and he wanted to occupy this building this turn, he could occupy it. He has to go here and wait until this guy has to route away. And then he has to route, and then he can advance. But you stall the unit. He stalls right in front of it. This unit then takes a shot at it. This unit could take a shot at it. And this guy routes away. Boom. Use him for a little block. Use him for a route path, screw up. If these guys fire here, breaks him, where's he got to route to? He's got to route over here. Boom. Actually, he can't route over there. What happens to that unit? If this 457 breaks, and he has to route, 457 has to route first. What happens in this situation?
Well, he'll crawl or
failure.
take interdiction.
Where's he going? Where's his destination?
No, can't be there.
I think failure to route, right?
Yeah. Why is it failure to route?
Because he can't go adjacent, and he can't go closer to that one.
Can't go closer to our broken 336 that was broken 3 turns ago. That he hasn't dealt with. This guy is a route path stopper, regardless of the range. You can't let these guys get behind you and stay there. You have to deal with them as the Italian player. You must learn to be able to twist your mind in the effect of leaving your broken units out to dry. Are you going to risk a leader trying to get this one? The leaders are probably better off keeping your units from cowering because you have shit firepower. Put the leader with that medium machine gun. Make sure it doesn't cower so it maximizes your firepower, because you have done. Right? Obviously, we need to go try and rally this unit, but that's a 6 with our regular leader that's going to be around. An 8-1 probably isn't going to spend the time of day to go get this guy. Only if he's got nothing else better to do or everyone else is dead. 8-0, 7-0, Hell, even 6+1, because even with the +1, you're going to have lots of units. You need somebody to rally. I don't care if it's a +1. It just negates the wood factor. At that point, you need 5. So 6+1 leader has value. It allows you to rally that unit along with one other self-rally. He has value, and he can get around. You know, boom, the next turn, boom, he's over here. Boom, he's over there. Sometimes you might have a stack of units. You need 2 5s. If you're rolling 2 dice, you know, twice, you're likely going to get one of them. And one guy pops up, continues on. You know, the other guy stays there. Do you stay there with him? That's a decision you have to make. Do you want to move that unit you just rallied 8 hexes? Or do you want to send him on his way and rally this unit? It's all situation. But you have that option. But you have to use your broken units much more, quote, offensively/defensively as the Italians than any other nationality. Even these Axis Minor allies, these frontline units have 7 morale. They're not going to break as often as our 3, 4, 6s. You know, their conscripts are exactly the same. But the first lines are different, so it's slightly different. His morale on the Baroque side is a 6. It's 1 higher than our 5. You have a 6+1 leader with this guy, Woods, he rolls a 6. These guys have to roll a 5. That's a huge difference. So these guys will rally faster than the Italians. So you have to use your broken units slightly different. Are you going to do that with your Americans? Are you going to do this sort of thought process with your American troops? Are you going to leave a guy out here to dry with the Americans? Probably not. Why?
Well, because they got an 8 rally.
Hey, you could rally him. You get a leader over there, he's rallied. Boom, he's right back in the fight. 6 brow, sure, but he's tearing shit down. 6 range, 6 firepower. He's ripping these guys apart. Ripping them apart. Right? So the Americans you're not going to do that with. The other nationalities, probably the same way. You know, as your quality of troops diminishes, you have to be a little bit more imaginative on how to use the units that you have in the game to their most effectiveness. His most effectiveness in this part is not rallying. His effectiveness is stopping route paths. You know, if a unit's here, right? If a unit's right there, this is very, very important. Nobody really takes this into consideration because nobody gives a shit about the route phase. But we love the route phase, right? This is the kind of situation. I got a broken unit over here. He's not going to bother. This guy's been broken for 6 turns. It's a long game. It's a 10-turn game. He's been broken for 6 turns. Do I want to fire at this unit right there? If my objective is just something random, I want to try and break. I'll try and have this unit make a bad day. If I break this unit, where's he going to route?
Building?
Yeah, probably go to the building. He probably could go somewhere over here, right? So we don't really care. Let's just say he routes over there, right? He's fine and dandy, right? We spend a turn for, let's say we advance. Let's say we get guys over here, some sort of bullshit assessment like here, and now we fire at him again. Let's say the top of the map is his area. So the good guys are on the top of the map. The Italians are on the bottom of the map, right? And we have this situation here. And then we fire at him and break him again. Where's he rallying? He's gonna have to go down, right? V2. He can ignore V2. Why? Why can he avoid V2? Let's say he wants to go somewhere else. Can we avoid V2, and why or why not?
Is it no further away?
From what?
The unit in G3?
In T3, right. Right. No further away than from this unit, so he says, screw that. But he can still route there. He says, I'm not going to go there, I'm going to go over here instead. 2, 3, 4, 5. Right? Because he doesn't want to go here. What are Italians going to do next turn? Right? And he's gone. That's what the Italians are going to do next turn. So he's going to try and route as far as... You better do the same thing. You better be doing the same thing. Don't stick him here. Especially if the objective is up north. If he wants to come kill this unit over here, let him spend a movement phase or 2 moving away from the victory conditions. Pull him away from the victory conditions. You know you're not going to rally him. He might get killed. Pull him away. Because if you put him here, he pretty much doesn't really lose any direction, right? He pretty much doesn't leave anything. Matter of fact, does he need 2 units to destroy you there? Let's say that, let's say you were moving forward as the Italians. You kind of want to move up to the, up to X8. Let's say you want to move to X8. What's your next move next turn? This guy's still broken. What's your next move? Are we moving both these units to kill this guy? Do we need to?
Well, if you want to kill him, you surround him.
Do we need to surround him by being adjacent? Do we need to do this?
Yep.
Remember, our objective is kind of like up here. Why waste 2 units to do that when he can go here? Where can this unit go?
W4.
Even better.
Oh, no, that wouldn't work.
No, W4 will work even better than W4 because our objective is up here. Where are we going to move this unit? How about?
Well, if you don't move it far to the left, then the DM guy will go to W2 or the building.
All right, so let's say he moves him here, 2, 3, 4 moving factors. Where's this guy routing?
Right, you'll have to go
What's up? You cut out.
W2. Oh, you'll have to go W2
Can he go to W2?
because V3 will be closer.
I think because he can still see that guy. You can see that guy.
Yeah, Z3. Our broken guy. It's been there for 6
Oh,
turns.
I keep forgetting about that guy. Yep,
So one guy.
I forget about the scatter team.
Don't you forget about this guy, especially if you're Italians. You're using this guy, and that's what we did, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I have a hard time remembering what we're working with.
We don't want to break this guy. All right, take care, John. We don't want to break that guy from this direction because he lingers over here, and when he lingers over here, and we come up here, and this guy's up here, and this guy's over here, what's going to happen to this unit right up here in front? What happens to him? We're attacking. This is our objective. We're attacking the objective. We got this far. Italians are saying, hey, you know, go Italia or whatever. What's going to happen to one of our units, if not both of them?
This guy's gonna break.
Yeah, somebody's going to break. Where's your route? You're not going this direction. You know, even let's say we were right here. We just came out of the woods. He ain't going this side. So he's got to go this way. Luckily, we can go that way because his range is only 3. But maybe we wanted to go over here. And eventually this guy might self-rally and get behind us. So this screws us in our general plan. If we maybe take a turn, if you've got the time, or if you've got other units over here, do the situation that we just covered before. Use the broken unit just like he is kind of using this broken unit. We need to use this guy because he's not coming back. You know, we probably have other units. He's down here. He moves up here. Of course, he can get shot at, you know, as the case may be. Or another unit can come this direction, you know, and take that spot. This guy's gone. He's simply gone. Now we don't have anybody, and then we advance. Because he'll route, and then we get to advance. And then we can continue moving. Now nobody's behind us to screw our route paths. But we use this unit to eliminate a unit. You can't, otherwise, both these guys have to be down here, and he is 3 hexes shorter from his destination. That's a full movement phase. So maximize your broken units in terms of lines of sight which you need to get better at, and route pass. Understand that he can't go adjacent to you. That's the easiest one. Can he go here? Nope. Can he go here? Nope. Can he go here? Nope. Okay, piece of cake. That's where I need to be. This is what it needs to be. The triangle. The triangle of death is what you're looking at. You got a triangle around them, they're going to die. He can't do anything. And that's what the Italians need to do. Use your broken units. Are you going to route back, the maximum distance? If you could rally him with the next turn or two, yeah. If not, maybe leave him where he can get shot. Why? Let's see, he broke here from a machine gun from this squad over here shot him. All right. He shot him right here. And he shoots him again. Nothing happens. I passed my morale check. Do I want to route that unit? Again, we have difficulty rallying units. We have other broken units all over the place. Because we're the Italians. We're going to have shitloads of units. If at the end of a game you don't have 4 to 5 hexes with broken units as the Italians, your opponent's rolled really bad. So, in this case, would you leave that guy there? Yeah, I would leave him there. Because maybe he wants to kill units. He's going to draw fire. If he's drawing fire here, not shooting at our good order units. You're using your broken units effectively. You're using them effectively. This is much more effective than him be routing over here, and now he gets shot at. And he may break, and then he's just going to join him. And then he may break, and he's going to join him. Now we have nothing. I'm not sure why I picked them both up there. It's not. So give him a target to shoot at. He's not going to rally. And again, the next best thing about that, let's say he continues to roll high on that unit. He may get frustrated. Shit, I can't break that broken unit. No, I'm going to bring somebody else. Get him in range. Now I get 8 firepower. Because he wants to kill a unit. Well, sometimes this happens. If he's got nothing else to do, he might bring a guy up, shoot him. Shoot. Rat-a-tat-tat. Break that unit. He's not firing on a good order. The guys might be over here. That might be a long range. This is the shot he wants to take. The 2 even. 2+1 is what he wants to take. What he needs to take. Not this. Leave him here. Let him exposed. He has to break him twice. Let's say he fails broad check. Oops. Right? He fails a broad check. Best thing about that is now he's 4 morale. Now he's even sweeter looking to him. So I have one more shot and I get to kill him. Guess what? That's another shot these guys can assault, move, advance phase. They're 2 hexes closer. He gets shot. He gets killed next turn. Assault, move, advance phase. They're closer to the objective. They're 4 hexes closer to the objective because this guy sacrificed himself to allow your other units to go forward. And again, if he's broken, maybe you could bring your leader up. Bring an 8-0 unit up there. Where's the Italians? All right. Let's bring a 7-0. I don't care. Bring a 6-1. I don't care. Bring a 6-1 up there. Now he has a real decision. Am I going to kill broken units or deal with these guys over here? If this guy rallies, that's nothing to spit out. He's trying to bring a unit back. Got 1 more unit in the fray. Even the 6+1, the value of the 6+1 gets this unit up at a 5. 5's not terrible. It's better than nothing. It's better than anything else. And that means if you do bring your leader up, he may need to DM this guy more often. Even if he's a 7-0, now he rallies on a 6 if he's not DM'd. That's not bad. But he may need to DM this unit to make sure you don't rally him and then move him 5 hexes. So in that case, you might use a leader, depending, of course. Obviously, leaders are extremely valuable. But, if it has to deal with victory conditions, I mean, your leader in this position drawing fire is achieving the victory conditions. He's just not in the building, but he's helping you do it. All right. And so the Italians have to play very deceptively in terms of breaking units, routing them in specific locations where just consider them dead. As soon as they're dead, broken, consider them dead, route them in certain locations where, whether next turn, the turn after, or a couple turns after that, where you know where the battle is going to develop because you have your plan. The enemy doesn't. You know where you're going to push from. Try to move your broken units in those positions where all he has to do is cut one route path. Instead of going left, he has to go straight up. And at that point, that might make a huge difference in your game. At that point, you might be able to catch that unit and destroy that unit. Instead of having, like down here, instead of having him route the whole way over here, where now 2 units have to come kill him, whereas only 1 unit needed to do it in the other situation if you just routed a V2. Routing smarter. This is the prime example of routing smarter wins games. Draw him away, cut route pass. Because again, when that 437 was down here broken, same thing. These guys are up here, not routing that direction. They're routing left and right. Left and right. If he goes here, he's dead. If he goes here, he helps win the game. Dead, wins. Big difference. 2 hexes. 2 hexes. You know, assuming there's a board over here. Otherwise, just moves a guy right here. Well, and he still routes, actually. It doesn't really matter. But I'm assuming there's a board on the bottom. You know, move the unit where they can be a pain in the ass. And this is where routing forward actually helps, because now you're behind the enemy's line, especially if they got shit morale units. Because now this guy's going to be doing a lot of damage. A lot of damage. You know, always keep that in mind. And again, it's pretty sad the number of people that just simply ignore the route phase, or moving while you're routing, or dealing with your broken. They deal with the broken units all exactly the same. All exactly the same. You have to deal with them based upon your nationality, what your nationality gives you. All right, your Germans, solid. That's your standard. Get your leaders in rally. Americans, broken unit. You don't need to get to a leader. You're going to self-rally in your next rally phase. Assuming you break in your turn when you're moving, you're going to rally in your next rally phase as a self-rally. You only 8. That's better than most units ever going to see. Russians, lots of.
At least I got somebody chasing me, pushing me away.
Right. And the thing with the Americans versus the Italians break. You really don't have to worry about DMing them for quite some time. You could leave them sit there and waste their self rallies, because most of the time they're going to miss. The Americans, you got to deal with them. You either got to DM him or get something else done because he's coming back. There's a big difference. There's a difference in priority. What's that?
Interdiction a lot more with the Americans.
Oh yeah, exactly. I didn't even cover that. Hey, we didn't cover that. The interdiction is also the big point there. And yeah, it makes it even stronger. So enemies dealing with American broken units versus enemies dealing with like Italians or minor allies broken units, that's a world that you can't treat them the same. You can't deal with them the same. You can ignore some, where you can't really ignore the Americans. You're either DMing the Americans to keep him DM'd, which, I mean, only has a limited effect. He still needs a 4 for self-rally, or a 5 with a leader. Just a 7-0 leader still needs a 5. Not bad. And but how much resources are you going to expend to do that? And remember, the Americans have more firepower. If you make a wrong move to get that unit, he's going to make you pay, and then you're on the backside. So as you're playing with these units, with their morale factors, with their abilities, with their smoke, with their range, with their propensity of leaders or lack thereof, or their crappy morale but large numbers, each nationality you have to play differently. You have the same basic precepts of the rules that you layer down, but as you know with these nationalities here, the Americans, you have the ability to do these things over here. As the minor ally, that ability is not available to you, period. So you have to do something else to compensate for that. You know, you might need to do something else. You might need to bait more units. You might need to jump into close combat more often. Whatever the case may be, you have to compensate what the other nationality you had played before no longer gives you. right? Minor allies, Axis minor allies, allied minor allies. Their morale drops in the backside. Period. A lot of guys don't like playing with those units because they simply want to avoid that bullshit. Well, that is curtailing their ability to deal with you. So again, since they don't want to deal with it, you could do exactly what we do with the Italians. We're using our low morale, knowing that we're going to break, to set a guy off to the side to give you target practice. You can either fire at him or you can ignore him. But if you're in a dealing with a route situation, guess who's going to cause you to get screwed up? That broken unit that you never dealt with. All right. So if you're DM'd, a lot of guys get DM'd. They're looking exactly where am I going to route to? Well, if you're in cover, you don't have to route at all. Or if you're in grain, if you're not in open ground, you don't have to route at all. If you're in a grain field, if it's going to cause route problems, stay the hell there. Stay there. What's he going to do? Fire on you again? That's what you want. He's already broken. He's already out of the game. He can't control anything, but he sure as hell can cut route paths. And he sure as hell can draw fire away from other units. So it makes a big difference. Some things people don't think, they just, oh my God, more broken. I can't rally them all. I'm dead. And they give up. Well, use the techniques that we always talk about in Tactical Tuesday. You just got to use them differently, right? You just have to use them slightly differently. The Italians have to use their routes more offensively because they need to put their bodies, elsewhere. If they got broken bodies, you want to spread them. Spread them. They don't want, or if you could stack them and rally them, obviously you want to do that. But if they're alone by themselves, you're not going to get to them. Spread them apart. Maximize your route screwage. Just pause and say, where can I screw him with this guy routing somewhere? And move him there and see what happens in that game. Again, starter kit, smaller maps, but you have porous maps. Even if it's a little village map, city map, you can see through a lot of those X sides. That guy can cause one unit just to cut left or right just a little bit, and that's all you need. That's really all you need, and to push him one way or the other. And you knowing that can then work to force him in a direction you want to, or you don't have to cover so many avenues behind and around him to cause him for failure out. You only have to cover one last avenue. Maybe you only need 2 guys instead of 3 guys to move there, or things like that. You'll see opportunities arise, and you're gonna say, hell yeah, this is cool. That guy killed 2 units. That one routing unit, a broken dude, killed a unit. It's huge. But he kills units. He doesn't break them. He kills them straight up if he calls a failure out. Now, this broken unit over here, so there for 6 turns as Z3. He killed the unit in V2. Nobody else did. He killed the unit. He sat there for 6 turns. He's not going to be doing a lot more, but he can do something. Always know that he does have a purpose. He is still participating in the game. So, very cool. Any questions, gentlemen? Anything we covered? Anything we haven't covered?
Oh, I've always got questions during the game, Stu, but I can't think any right now.
No worries. That's why I pop in on you guys. And you guys are using the Discord channels well. I wish all players would. I think it's,
Yeah, I wish more people would use it.
they don't. They're losing out. I go in every single room. Anytime somebody shares a room with me, or shares a room, and I happen to pop in, they always have a question, right? This is for people that's not even in the starter kit. They always have questions, right? It's just ASL. You just have questions, and even just having another perspective. The guy may be right, the guy may be wrong, but at least he has another perspective. So, I never thought about it. Why do you think that? And then he gives you an answer. Oh, that's not what the rule says.
Talk your way through it.
Yeah, it's one more guy. If you just talk with 2 guys, especially if they're opponents, well, one guy says, "Oh, it's bullshit, that's blocked," and the other guy says, "Oh, no, it's not blocked." So, but the third guy says, "Oh yeah, I fired that 16 times. I played ASL for 6. I played that scenario 20 times. It's always blocked."
Yeah.
Or he might bring up something else. So, but stuff like that. And plus, they get to share their game with somebody else. Usually guys are pretty cool about it. There's a number of guys that are playing some ASL stuff, and I always pop in on their rooms. But, right now, look how many games are going. Like 10 or 15.
Yeah.
10 or 15 games. How many people are in ASL Discord? Guess who? Guess who's in there? Craig.
4.
Craig.
Oh yeah, Craig's playing. Yeah.
Right? Those are our guys. Our guys are in that.
Yep.
These other guys in their own little rooms, hiding from the community. Again, I mean, unless they're all professional players and they're getting paid, you're in tournaments or something like that.
Hey, Eric, we're into
Yeah.
the question period. Do you want me to load that game? You want to question that leadership
Oh, I suppose. I mean,
stuff?
Stu, do you mind answering full ASL questions?
Not at all. I'll try. I'll try to screw it up as best I can.
Okay, I will load something.
All right.
Are you gonna load the log so we can quick? Because we wrote the questions in the in the chat box for the log.
Yeah. My log only covers the first 2 turns, but that's where the leadership thing happened.
Okay.
You want to load it for longer than that?
I am not at the computer that has that.
Okay. I just got the first 2.
We can ask the one about the Berserk leader.
Yeah.
Okay. So let's see.
It'll
What
be
do we do?
T5.
We can do this.
On the bottom. You could be in our room and load it, but we'll go to your room.
I'll just pull somebody out actually. So it was a 9-1 leader. Okay. And can you guys see that 9-1 leader on the board?
No, I'm trying to sync with not sure.
Oh, okay.
You not have a game up?
What room are you in now?
I got it loaded. Let me
T5.
Let me run through it real quick. Oh.
Okay.
T5. Okay.
There we go. Yeah, anytime you want to bring a game up, you could just bring it up in our thing. We just sync to you in that particular room. You don't have to change rooms. My map's not coming. I don't get a map. You guys get a map? Oh, there he goes. Oh, it's just slow. Holy shit.
Has anybody else been having any problems with the line of sight being grayed out?
Grayed out? What does that mean? Oh, that usually happens when one guy's clicked it, then it becomes disabled for the other guy, I think.
So we've had problems where both of us had it grayed out.
Oh, at the same time? Oh, you may have had like a line of sight. Oh, I see what you're saying. Yeah, there's something that happens sometimes where if you click the line of sight, it kind of selects it or doesn't really deselect it. What I usually do is then I go to the map, the one with the Russian star next to the big X on the prep fire. I usually clear that out a little bit. It kind of like resets it a little bit.
So, for example, right now I don't have line of sight capability.
Yeah, I saw them grayed out. I think someone was checking it. Like right now, mine's gray.
I'm trying to figure out exactly where this was, where this happened.
Oh, is this
this guy right here?
This is Nishembi Basari?
Yeah. Poopville.
Oh, Poopville exit.
Poopville.
Yeah, Poopyville.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure.
Actually, it's right here.
I would need to.
This X right here.
Yeah, the 9-2.
So I'm just going to pull him out of the stack.
Okay.
Unwound him. He was a 9-1 leader.
All right.
He got wounded.
Okay.
So let's see. We'll wound him, right?
Sure.
Now he. He got battle hardened.
Okay.
So he was essentially a 9-1 that got wounded to. Well, his stats are now 8-0, right? Because they lower by 1 for each thing.
Right.
When he battle hardens, do we battle harden him off of the wounded stats, or do we battle harden him off of what he is? He's a 9-1 leader, so he becomes a 9-2 leader.
You battle off him what he is, because the wound is just a modifier. It doesn't actually change the counter.
Okay.
So he'll
So
be
he
a
becomes
9-2 that's wounded.
Okay, so that's how we did it then.
Oh, yeah. That's what Eric, decided.
In our situation, he was an 8-1 stats wise. Either way, we did it. But I
Correct.
think there might be examples where if you go one way or the other, the stats might be different.
You are correct. Yeah. Sometimes it can make, and plus, there's like a battle harden on a wound, and so just think of it that way. Essentially, you've got your leadership modifiers, and that's your kind of like your base level. Your wound is like a sub level of things that have modified that counter, and then modifying a sub level, it gets real problematic. It's like it's sort of like residual firepower. Like everyone's thinking about residual firepower. It's like, where did it come from, right? You know, did it come from a conscript unit? Did it come from where? Well, we don't care. We don't care where it came from. It's just there, right? And so we're dealing now with the residual firepower. But with the leader, you're still dealing with the base unit. The base unit is whatever their initial morale level was. If there's ever a rule that ever comes out that helps a wounded leader, that heals him or some bullshit like that, you know, there might be a scenario special rule. Hey, if he goes to you know, T4 or something like that, that's the hospital. If he goes TI for a turn, then he's helped, and he's back on the front lines, all fine and dandy. You never know. So and also when you deal with campaign games, the same sort of thing applies in campaign games. You know, wounded leaders might be replaced by their base unit, and so then you'd have to worry about keeping track of the wound value versus the actual just base value of the unit. So simplicity wise, yeah, again, like you said, it doesn't change the unit at all. By all means, only one more battle harden will do that, and so it actually becomes a 10-1, kind of weird, or 9-1. Yeah. So yeah.
So this text with the gun in it proves that we did learn off your Tactical Tuesday, because Eric didn't shoot once at 8. He shot about 7 times.
Oh my God.
At 4.
Yeah,
Remember that we were talking about the gun?
IFE, yeah.
Oh, you fired it? Yeah, right.
I didn't use that IFE at all, just because that's all I had was rate of fire on that thing.
Yeah. What's a 37? What's a 30? That's a 4 chart. Yeah, it's not too bad.
Yeah. So I went down. I have my firepower, but I got a bunch of rate of fires off of it. So.
Right. And on the 4 chart, well, 7's fantastic, and these guys only 7 morale, so I mean it's not bad. Plus you can critical hit, right? You know,
you got a critical.
I did actually get a critical hit, yeah.
Right. And that right there, it makes it doubles it to the 8, which is your initial chart, and it reverses the modifier, which is going to be something better than your 8 chart's ever going to have. You went from a +2 to you went from a +2 to a -2, so that's a 5 die roll change.
Right, because of the building. Yeah.
Right. Well, 4 die roll change. Yeah, 4 die roll change. That's huge. That's huge. And you're giving up a little bit of firepower.
Leader, so.
Yeah, you're just giving up a little bit of firepower. So, and but that's a decision you have to make, right? I mean, some guys will. I mean, the eight's hard to ignore. You know, but the critical hit, you know, that might be good. I mean, it's 16 firepower, 2 point blank, but you know, a lot of times you only get that one shot, and you know, it's just a decision you got to make. And as you play more, you'll learn the very specific situations, and again, exactly what we talked about in the beginning of the video, against the units that you have to fire against. You know, if these are 8 morale units, you know, you might have to take the big chart. You might. You know, whereas Italians, hell, you only need to break them, and a 4 chart will break them just as easily, and you're going to fire a lot more often.
Now, when we did that critical hit, we doubled the 8 for 16, even though he was shooting at a 4. That was correct, wasn't it?
Wait, no.
Didn't we do that to 16?
No. We doubled the firepower to 8.
And the critical hit will affect 1 unit, right?
Okay.
Yeah, we did random selection, and actually did that critical hit. Isn't that where that leader came from? Oh, the wounded leader.
Yeah.
Because I think he's the one that took it.
I rolled.
Oh, right.
Yeah, I rolled 3 times and the leader won. the hit.
Right. Okay, that makes sense. Yeah, because
Uh,
otherwise,
on, a, on an unrelated note, I had a separate question about this truck over here.
right.
Um,
Oh yeah.
I was trying to figure out how to use this thing, and like road movement and all that. And I think we've only ever played with AFVs from starter kit.
Right.
So I was trying to see if I even needed to worry about calling this thing buttoned up or CE. But from what I read in the rule book, it applies only to AFVs.
Correct.
So then, if you only go with AFVs, so if you have a counter that doesn't have an armor factor on anything, that's considered not an AFV because it's unarmored, and therefore you don't have to say crew exposed or buttoned up. Is that how it works?
Correct. Unless the vehicle has notes specifically mentioning otherwise.
Okay, because the terrain chart for trucks lists of half movement point for roads if you're, or one movement point if you're buttoned up, and that's what threw us off. We're like, what truck would be buttoned up?
Right.
So obviously there is one that would be then.
No, there wouldn't be, because the road is just road, right?
Right.
The button up is if the button up applies, and that would be for AFVs. So if the AFV were CE, then just the road rate is 1/2 for everything, all vehicles. Right. If you're button up, it's 1.
I see.
See what I'm saying? So
yeah, they're just confusing that it's on the truck line. It just throws us off.
Right.
So there are armored trucks then, I guess.
There might be. There might be instances where that might occur. And again, those will all be in either A, the scenario special rules, or B, the vehicle notes. Which again makes it important to realize what the vehicle notes are. You know, even for this little thing here. Right, because this Kuba wagon right there, he has a crew with him because it has a main armament. So that thing actually has a crew with it firing the main armament. So that's why he has a crew survival, a capital crew survival versus a lowercase crew survival. Anytime you have a lowercase crew survival, that means there's no crew with the vehicle. There's just like a driver. And so the crew survival only applies to passengers. Whereas this case, since it's capitalized, there's a crew there that could pop out.
You know, another thing that threw us off is we tried to flip it when he killed it, and there was no way to flip it. There was no wreck.
Right. On the Kuba wagons, these don't leave any wrecks. Right. The Jeeps don't leave it. You broke Vassal. You broke Vassal. But yeah.
We finally found the paragraph in the rules that said, "Wait, you don't wreck if you don't have a wreck on the back side of the counter." I was like, "Oh shit, I didn't know that."
Yeah. It's just there. It's just a teeny tiny vehicle. So it's a VW. I mean, geez. I mean, how much terrain, how much obscurement is gonna have? So the AA gun's bigger than the VW. But yeah, that thing is you attack it on the star chart. You attack it on the IFT directly, or technically you could roll to hit with your machine guns. But IFT directly you will damage it on the star chart. So let's say you fired 8 firepower on it. You look at the star chart, which is above the firepower column. I think
7. I think.
Yeah, 7 will immobilize it. Anything below will destroy it.
So when we were figuring that out, because I moved it here, and he fired on me from like I think one of these X's. Oh, he was actually in S3 at the time. So now I'm trying to figure out what the modifier should be for that, and what we came up with was the wall did come into effect, and I think that was it. Yeah, so we got a +2 for the wall.
Sure.
Yeah, +2.
Yep.
So I guess when it because this is a new thing for us using this type of vehicle.
Yeah.
And he was firing on it with small arms. So small arms, when you're thinking about modifiers, you just got to go off the IFT modifiers, correct?
Right.
Okay.
No, again, machine guns can technically attack it. Like on the to hit table.
Yeah, with the 2 hit, right? So then you go to the 2 hit modifiers.
I think. I'm not sure. Right? There's got to be a. So usually, but the problem is AP doesn't really damage armored vehicles as easily as just regular shooting. But most of the time, I don't think you'd ever really kind of want to do that. I mean, I'm looking at the destruction tables right now. Unarmored affiliate. Oh, final killer. Final to kill number. Oh, there it is. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, the MGs to 15 millimeter use the vehicle start line. So again,
it's that note underneath, ain't it?
yeah, that's well, my AP to kill is unarmored target, final to kill number doubled if critical hit. IFE MG to 15 star vehicle line, ATR 28 millimeters 7, 35 to 50, 37 to 57 is 8, and then 9, et cetera, et cetera. So it defers to the
The vehicle line.
right. And
Okay.
why would you want to do that, right? Why would you want to attack on the to hit versus directly on the IFT?
Don't know.
Well, in this case, look at your example. What you just fired at from S3 to U3. What did you have to add?
TEM.
TEM, right? If you fire on the to hit, you take the TEM into consideration. So when you fire on the to kill, TEM doesn't apply. So if you're firing like a LMG, right, or something like that, it's got 2 firepower, you need a snake eyes. You'll need a snake eyes to immobilize them. Whereas if you fire on the to hit chart, you'll need a 4 to immobilize them and a 3 for destruction. So it makes a big difference. Even on the 4 chart, a medium machine gun, you know, it might be hard to hit him, but again, you have rate of fire, right? You have possible rate of fire. But if you hit him, you'll need a 5 for immobilize and a 4 or less for destruction. It's oddly enough, you use the same chart to kill. One, it's harder to hit, but you don't have to take those TEMs into account later. And the other one's directly on target. That's kind of odd. I've never seen that in play. And usually they don't have a lot of unarmored vehicles running around anyway. But usually everyone just parks in the back or some bullshit like that.
I think it was just mainly kind of like throwing the Germans a bone to maybe have something that could get around the backside to get them to eliminate route paths or maybe eliminate route paths, because it's only got 3 firepower machine guns.
Right.
It could be taken out with like a couple squads worth of firepower.
Right.
So you can't do much of anything else other than maybe carry a half squad around.
Right.
I figured you were driving over there to DM the machine gun.
I exactly was doing that.
Yeah.
100%.
You could do that.
I was actually going to try to get it on the backside to W10 to DM the other guys.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
And what else could you do with that particular vehicle?
See, besides the route paths and DMing, you can transport people.
One more thing.
Just,
you can take the machine gun out of the vehicle.
You scrounge.
Well, not really scrounge. You just kind of I don't even know what it's called. You disarm or unload or whatever the hell it is. But because it's an AA machine gun, it can be dismounted as a light machine gun.
Okay.
So that's why the rate of fire of kind of 1 corresponds to that. And then you can then obviously occupy buildings, control buildings because it's a multi-man counter, right? Mm-hmm. And so on and so forth. A lot of guys do that with their vehicles. They just kind of abandon their Jagdpanzer 6s and run into a building and then win the game. So a lot of scenario special rules have been designed to prevent that bullshit from happening. But it does happen. But yeah, a lot of guys will take that LMG out. What I would do is since the firepower is pretty close in range, I like the 30. It's like, you never get a chance to run those things around a lot anyway. You can always scrounge the LMG from I guess you can't because it's not a wreck anymore. But you never know. You never know when that 8 firepower comes into play. Or the 3 firepower. Like you say, you'd run a guy behind him, go up and over that hill, and take the long route behind him, and he's got to deal with him. Your infantry aren't going to get there that quickly. What
I was trying to do is maybe just drive him off the map or somewhere until until the end of the game, when he had one of my buildings occupied, but he didn't leave anybody there, and just kind of drive up to the building, hop out, and take it back.
Yeah, yeah, that's another possibility. Yeah. That's what I do with my cavalry. You got to leave some guys on the horses, so when guys break, you got your guys are ready to go. Yep. That's 30 movement factor or the movement points.
You can get anywhere.
Yeah, you can get anywhere on the map. On the road for sure. You know, takes a little bit to go up the hill, but yeah, the woods are an issue. But yeah, he can zoom pretty damn fast. So personally, I would love to use it as a mobile gun platform to scoop drop piles over, even at long range. Yeah, he might fire at it, but you know, it is what it is. Just see what happens, play with it, learn to use those, because most people will just take the weapon out and be done with it. You know, but the problem is if you have the weapon in there, it can cut route paths. If you take the weapon out, you can still drive it. It's considered a broken or a non-entity. Essentially, that it will not cut route paths at that point because it's just a stupid truck. Yeah, it's considered unarmed at that point.
But you can go up on a hill and view people to take away their cover, right?
Yeah, like he can go up to W5 and stop Americans from rounding that direction, or he could drive over to DD2, right?
And
He could park up on DD2, fire long range, 16 hexes at 1 firepower. He covers this whole road at 1 firepower with a rate of fire 1. You know, and cuts all route paths. These guys breaking here aren't going back this way.
Yeah.
You know, America's got a medium machine gun he could fire on, but hell, if he's firing on here, he's not firing it forward. Where the victory, guess what? Where the victory points are. You know, something to consider. Something to consider. You want to do that? Some guys like LMGs. I don't really think the LMG makes a damn bit of difference. You have American 747s, 10-2. It's not gonna make a difference. Stick a broken Italian unit up here on 498. That's essentially what he is. And worse comes to worse, right? Park it up there and then have the infantry get out so you could actually break and still maintain that same status. Exactly, you're actually more powerful because now you're an infantry unit, and when you break, you can self rally because you're a crew, and you have the LMG. You don't have to worry about the machine, the truck exploding at that point. At that point, you're golden. You're golden.
I just got out of the thing and left it then.
Yeah.
I could have had a self-rallying crew with a light machine gun.
Right. And like I say, that's to have that self-rallying crew up on 498. You know, you never know. I mean, when he starts assaulting over here, right? If he's right here in that location and he breaks, where does he have to route? He can't route back across the street over here. He has to go down. He has to go this way to route. He can't route here because he could see you on the hill. That's a straight shot. Just saying. Just saying, it's a pain. He becomes a pain in the ass. It's a pain in the ass. He won't get all LOSs, but he will get some, and that's all you need. For 3 firepower to do up that, that's all you need to screw him over. So, again, that's what I would use him for. No other unit can do that in this game. You know, to get back over there in 1 turn, 2 turns at most. Shit, it'll take anybody that you have on the map 3 to 4 turns to get there.
Yeah, it's got a 30 movement.
Yeah. Even if he goes up and over the hill, that's, you know, it's like 8, 12, 24. He can get to Y5 in turn 1, and then he might be able to get to DD2 in turn 2. You know, it takes a lot. When they go over ground uphill, there's a lot of movement points going on there. But he can do it. You know, get to Y5. Yeah, he can go up and over in 1 turn, Y5 to here, and then up here, and the 2nd turn. You know, just something to think about. Like again, when you start adding topography like this is why starter kit will never go to level 2 hills. It will never do it because it opens up the game like you don't believe. Multi levels other than just 1 level opens up the game. The only thing 1 level does, it allows you to see over walls and hindrances. That's the only thing that does. But level 2, that's a whole nother ball of wax, baby. Whole nother ball of wax. I'd love to see the Cuba wagon here. Oh my god, that'd be funny. Screwing the Americans over. Yeah, he can actually, even here, even the Americans come here, right, do assault here. This unit has a line of sight to that. Hey, 1+1 or 1 even, 1+1 all day. And it doesn't cower. Doesn't cower. A 5 is a pin task check. 4 is a pin task. 1 even is a pin task check. You know? Anybody can pin. Anybody can pin. So, but yeah, fun stuff. Fun stuff. I heard they're going to be adding unarmored vehicles in one of the expansion packs coming up, or bonus packs, some bullshit. I saw it in the works somewhere. So it'll be a little different. Not a big fan of that. Not a big fan of that concept. Once you start adding all these little secondary rules, you might as well be playing ASL. I mean, they've added a lot of scenario special rules, HIP, OBA, snow, commissars, they've added in. Once you start adding in all these little rules and you play with them with no problem, you're playing ASL. There's just a couple little esoteric rules beside. You're playing, they're slipping ASL. And you don't have to use them every game, and that's what ASL is. You're not using winter, you're not using unarmored vehicles, you're not using OBA, you're not using HIP every single game. You're using them in very sparingly. And so that it's ASL.
And
It's
the
just
more I learn about full ASL, the more I'm noticing that, oh, this is actually a special rule from the scenario in SK.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, and that's what they're doing. Yeah. And to be honest with you, I don't think they should do it that much. I think they think they should just keep it the way it is. And not continue to develop scenarios with all these little secondary special rules. That's what they're for anyway, scenario special rules. But, you know, I guess it's sort of like getting these guys. I don't know what the purpose is for it, but if you like the game and you're handling those scenario special rules just fine, and if you have the money, right? I mean, it's not cheap buying ASL like anything else, but it's your hobby. You know, if you like me, I don't go out to bars and spend $200-300 a month. I spend $100 in ASL a month. You know, and you know, sometimes you get shit. Like last night, I bought the green hell of Enors. Like screw it, I might as well get it. You know, a couple things, dissuaded me from getting it, and a couple things got me to try to buy it. So I decided, yeah, I'll just go ahead and pull the trigger. What the hell, So, but that's what you spend your money on. It's your hobby. How you spend your money in your hobby is your business. And if you like it, if you think you'll be playing it for a while, you don't have to buy it all, right? Beyond Valor's plenty of games of Beyond Valor, baby. And that's $80 for Beyond Valor. You get a rule book for $65, $150. You've got 40 scenarios, and you're playing ASL. And Beyond Valor's got a lot of armor, a lot of big time scenarios in that thing. A lot of big boys go walking around that damn thing.
You could actually even get into it with just the rule book itself. I mean,
yeah,
because those free scenarios on the website in Vassal, that's all you need.
Yeah,
the starter kit, you could actually start playing for free with the rule book, scenarios, and Vassal. It's all out there.
Yeah. Yeah,
the game companies, their fortunate thing is that most of the people who play it are complete nerds, so they have to have the actual physical thing. It's
yeah,
it keeps them going.
There's
Vassal would destroy them.
There's so few players that don't own the stuff that play the game. I think I mean, look at your wargamers, right? I mean, look at any wargamer YouTube channel. They've got a freaking room full of games. And none of them have been played, right?
Yeah.
It's just, I mean, how many games of Stalingrad or Kursk do they have? They've got them. They're different systems, and they like the systems, and they may or may not get around with them, but they don't care. It's like
it's just the physical, having that physical thing. Too.
It makes a big difference. Yeah, I mean the digital stuff.
Weird.
For like scenario cards, I'd rather I always like the thumb scenario cards, and the same thing with the rule book. I like to thumb through it.
Yeah.
But
I was clipping counters the other night for Beyond Valor, and it was kind of like soothing.
Mm-hmm.
Just
cathartic.
It was. It was just to have organize them, put them in their own little trays and all that. And
right.
Just, at the end of it, I felt like I had something. It was cool. It was like I'm the commander of the German army or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
Weird.
Yeah.
I agree, 100%.
And it's pretty cool. Like with clippings, it's so nice if you. Oh my God! Because I used to have those old sets, and you'd have counters. I mean, legit. I've got a 4.67 that is legit half the size of another 4.67 because it cuts a bit so. It's so fucking weird. It's like barely the 4.67 barely fits on the counter, and the other guy, it's like this big fat hog. It's hilarious. I gotta find it, take a picture of it, and show you guys. I mean, and they're all knobby, and the ends are all nasty, and oh god, that's. Is
I was watching some guy's channel the other day, and well, part of it was he started out the video, and he had this big, it was like a screen door that he put over his game to protect it from his cats.
Oh my god, yeah.
But when he pulled the thing off, I mean, he didn't show that on the video, but he had it off, and he zoomed in on a couple of counters, and there's like cat teeth bites on the counter.
Oh my god. Oh my god. That's hilarious. Yeah, those cats will screw up your games. I mean, dogs won't, and cats will.
Yeah,
They'll
cats
say,
like to lay on the board and play. You know?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. Hilarious. Yep. That's why you got to have the Wi-Fi bigger house and give yourself your own room.
There, yeah. You got to have a dungeon somewhere that you can close the door.
Yep. And keep them out. Get like some sort of some dog, a fake dog, and bark as soon as the door opens so the cat doesn't go inside. You know how they slip by you and you open the door, they're in there.
Yeah,
and then when you're chasing them, they scurry over your war in the east you've been playing 400 days on, and counters go flying. Yeah, you fucking cat. It's just, yeah. Oh my god. And they always do it no matter what you do. They know it, man. They know what they know.
They do.
They know it.
Cats love doing that stuff.
They know it. That's hilarious. But yeah, that's my opinion on that. Like I say, I own a lot of SK stuff. I didn't think I'd ever buy it, but I buy it, for you guys to get me associated with it and to read up on it, to have it. It's cheap enough for me, I bought I think 8 copies of SK1. I think I've given 6 away so far. So it's get people into the hobby. It's a fun game, whether they go into ASL, I really don't care. It's a fun game, and if it brings enjoyment to them, $25, who cares? It doesn't cost anything, and I gotta be honest with you, all the scenarios that we've been covering lately, in SK, they brought me a lot of enjoyment in going over with them, either playing them or just going over the different strategies, because that's just made me a better player. Like I say, I was talking last night. It's just breaking the game down into its core components. And once you master those core components, the rest of the game is easy. The truck, right? What do we discuss about the trucks? Breaking route paths. Getting it more firepower. If you understand route paths, you understand how that truck can be used. If you don't understand route paths, you'll never ever think of that. Ever. Period. It's just a truck, and oh fuck it, I'm just going to take the gun out and boom. People that don't think of route paths, they always take the little stupid LMG, which won't make a difference in this game, and pull it out. Yeah, you could put down a fire lane, but come on, really? You have American 747 with smoke. They're going to drop smoke, walk through the fire lane.
So, on fire lanes, I was reading about them, and they don't seem as fantastic as you would think, because every time somebody goes in your fire lane and you roll, you can break your gun, right? I mean, it's not like a fire lane that just is there for free.
Right, but that's the last thing you need to worry about, right? If you're dropping the fire lane, you don't care if the weapon fires. It's the apparent dissuasion the enemy from crossing the road. If he does cross the road, you're going to get a shot at him. And okay. I never, even if it's breakdown 11, I don't give a shit. If you're running units down, if you're running units into my fire lane at 2-2 to break my gun, I get to roll every single time, baby. Yeah. I'm going to break you more than my gun's going to be broken. And, so be it. And in ASL, you've got sniper action too. What happens if he rolls a sniper? Like a lot of guys over focus on snipers. If it's like 2 or 3, or maybe 4's kind of mid-grade, but 2 or 3, I don't give a shit. If I'm rolling a 2 or 3, something's breaking. I'm getting something for your sniper roll, and your sniper roll's not 100% anyway. So I'm getting something out of it. You may not. So
this game, we both got 2 for Sam.
Right. Yeah, that's worthless. So you can fire at everything. Hey, thanks for joining us for Tactical Tuesday. And I hope you learned a little something about different nationalities. I think it's very important that you focus on what your troops can do and then focus on what your game plan can be and adapt those troop abilities to your style. And I think you'll see a lot more success in your games. So take care. And again, thank you, patrons, and appreciate you a lot. Take care, and we'll see you next time on Tactical Tuesday.